Hello, I'm glad you're here. I'm NatsMan, and I'm reading the Bible from the beginning to the end, from Genesis to Revelations. Please join me in this journey and make God's Word a part of your everyday life. Please hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified every time I make another post, another video, and you won't miss any parts of this Bible read. Today's video is a recap summary of the book of Nehemiah, and it starts now. The book of Nehemiah continues the story begun in Ezra. While Ezra focused on the rebuilding of the temple and the spiritual renewal of the people, Nehemiah focuses on the rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls and the strengthening of the community. Together, Ezra and Nehemiah show how God restores his people both spiritually and physically. The book opens with Nehemiah, a Jewish man, serving as a cupbearer to King Xerxes of Persia. In chapter 1, Nehemiah hears troubling news. Though some exiles have returned to Jerusalem, the city walls are still broken down and its gates have been destroyed by fire. This leaves the city vulnerable and dishonored. Nehemiah's heart is broken, and he weeps and fasts and prays, and confessing the sins of Israel, asks God for favor to help his people. In chapter 2, God answers. When Nehemiah brings wine to the king, Xerxes notices his sadness, and Nehemiah bravely asks permission to go rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. Amazingly, the king agrees and even provides supplies and letters of support. Nehemiah travels to Jerusalem, surveys the city's ruins by night, and inspires the people to join in the rebuilding. Chapter 3 and 4 describe the work on the wall and the opposition it faced. Every family and group took responsibility for a section of the wall, but enemies mocked them, threatened them, even plotted attacks. Nehemiah responded with prayer, wisdom, and vigilance. Workers held tools in one hand and weapons in the other. Despite constant opposition, the people continued to build because they trusted that the God of heaven will give us success. Nehemiah 2:20. In chapter 5, Nehemiah confronts another challenge, this time from within. Wealthier Jews were exploiting their poorer brothers by charging high interest and taking their land. Nehemiah rebuked them, reminding them that God's people are to live with compassion and justice. The wealthy agreed to restore what they had taken, showing how Nehemiah's leadership brought both practical and moral reform. By chapter 6, the enemies tried every tactic to stop Nehemiah, even spreading lies and attempting to intimidate him. But Nehemiah stood firm, refusing to be distracted from the work. Finally, after just 52 days, the wall was completed. It was clear to everyone that this was the work of God. But Nehemiah knew the walls were only part of the mission. In chapters 7 through 10, the focus shifts to the spiritual renewal of the people. Ezra, the scribe, re-enters the story, reading the law of Moses to the assembly. The people listened attentively, wept over their sins, and then celebrated with joy. They confessed their sins publicly, renewed the covenant, and pledged to obey God's commands. Chapters 11 and 12 describe the repopulating of Jerusalem and the dedication of the wall. There were choirs, music, and rejoicing so loud that the joy of Jerusalem was heard far away. Nehemiah 12:43. It was a moment of great celebration, marking not only the rebuilding of the city, but also the restoration of God's people. Finally, in chapter 13, Nehemiah, after returning briefly to Persia, comes back to Jerusalem and finds the people slipping into compromise again. They had allowed foreigners to defile the temple, neglected their tithes, and were breaking the Sabbath. Nehemiah once again rebuked them, calling them back to obedience and purity. The book closes with Nehemiah's prayer, "Remember me with favor, my God." The key themes were prayer and dependence on God. Nehemiah constantly turned to prayer before making decisions or facing challenges. Leadership and perseverance, despite opposition, Nehemiah led with courage, integrity, and faith. Community and worship. True renewal comes not just from rebuilding walls, but from rebuilding hearts through God's Word. And holiness. God calls His people to live distinct lives and set apart for Him. In summary, Nehemiah is a story of rebuilding both the walls of Jerusalem and the lives of God's people. It teaches us that when we trust God, pray faithfully, and persevere, He can restore what is broken and renew His people for His glory. And that is the recap summary for the book of Nehemiah. I'd like to thank you for joining me in this project, this endeavor to read the entire Bible. I hope you enjoy listening to it as much as I enjoy reading it. Please feel free to comment if you'd like, and also please give this a thumbs up and subscribe if you enjoy it. If this is your first visit to NatsMan Reads the Bible, I always leave a link in the description below to the intro video that explains what I'm working to accomplish here. I hope you come back for the next video, and until then, thank you. I hope you have a blessed day. I'm NatsMan, and I'm out.